Hello and welcome to Coconut Chats. Today you're joined with me, Harita, and I am joined by two guests, one from San Francisco and one from India. So we're working in three different time zones at the moment. Pandita Maneesha Sathe is a disciple of the Nataraj Gopi Krishna Ji, who is a torchbearer of the Benaras Gharana of Kathak. She is the founder She founded Manisha Nitralaya in 1975. She lives in Pune, India, and is bestowed with several awards on national and international level. She's celebrating the Golden Jubilee of Manisha Nitralaya and Manisha Ji's teaching this year in 2025. And her daughter, Shambhavi Dandekar, is the disciple and daughter of Pandita Maneesha Sathe ji. She's also a disciple of senior tabla exponent Dal Yogi Pandit Suresh Talwakar. She is the founder and director of S.I.S.K, Shambhavi's International School of Kathak. She lives in San Francisco Bay Area and is the recipient of several national and international awards. Both Shambhavi ji and Manisha ji have a blazing performing career and have travelled the world with their Kathak performances. Welcome, ladies. How are you both?
Thank
Nice.
you very
Thank you.
much.
Namaste.
Such a pleasure to talk to you both, especially given, we're in three different time zones and organizing this interview took a bit of work. But you're both coming to New Zealand for a tour in a few weeks. And I thought it would be really lovely to talk to you both, get to know you both in the lead up to you coming here and find out more about your journey, especially because you're a mother daughter performing duo, which I think makes it so much more special because there's a extra bond in the performances. Manisha ji, we'll start with you first. Please tell us briefly about your training with your Guruji in your early days. And Shambhavi ji, how was it to learn from your own mother? Manisha ji, we'll start with you first.
Okay. I started learning dance when I was 7 years old, and my parents were very keen that would become a Kathak dancer. So they had planned everything. And firstly, I started learning from Pandit Balasaheb Gokhale from Pune, and later on, they shifted me to Mumbai to have lessons from the great maestro Nataraj Pandit Gopi Krishnaji. And I started having lessons from him since late 60s, from 64, 65. And I was there, and every day's class would be there for minimum for 4 to 5 hours every day.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a very strict timeline too, and the way of riyaz and learning process, everything was very, very disciplined. So we would start our riyaz at 7 o'clock in the morning till 9:30 continuously. And for that session, Gopiji himself would be there with us, doing his riyaz with us. I mean, he would make us dance with him, and it used to be a great challenge for us. And then from 9:30 onwards, when I was in school, I used to rush directly from my dance class to school and then later on, I used to be there till 1:30, 2 o'clock, and continue my dance classes and riyas together.
It's a very busy day for someone so young.
Yes, truly.
And Shambhaviji, how was your experience of having your mum as your guru?
First up, thank you, Harita, for this interview. It is for the both of us, it is our first podcast that is going to be out of New Zealand. So, as much as we are excited to visit New Zealand and perform there, we are also excited for this podcast.
Yes.
Um, so, unlike my mother, I was born dancing, if I may. And since since the time I can remember, I am just surrounded by dance all the time, watching my mother practice and perform, watching her teach her other students. I remember when I was 3 or 4 years old, I have those vivid memories of myself sitting in one corner of our dance hall where Ai, as we call a mother in Marathi, so I'm also going to refer to her as Ai going forward. So I is teaching her students or training them for a performance, setting choreography, and I'm sitting quietly in the corner of the room, just taking everything in, observing, and just in awe with what all was going on there. Very soon, she started teaching me and a few of my friends from school. All of us were, I think, 4 or 5 years old, not older than that. So it must be like a kids class, but very soon, I think we all were so grounded into it that continued learning throughout. Um, since my age of 16, 17, um, my mother gave me a chance to perform duets with her. It began with small steps like just a small piece here or there, and then very soon it cultivated into full length duet performances. And we have been performing duets for many decades now. I think over 30 years easily. Um, and all this time, what fascinated me the most, or what fascinates me now, since I am a mother now, I'm also a lady who is in her mid-age now. What fascinates me the most is the kind of balance that she always maintained, playing the roles of a mother and a guru, especially to a little girl or to a teenager or then a youngster full of energy. All this time, I think the way she balanced both those roles was incredible. And I don't think many gurus in this field can manage those two roles so perfectly as her.
Oh, that's very nice. Um, yeah, I think people always wonder, when your mum is your teacher, people always wonder if the teacher is favoring their daughter over the other students in the class, or if they, if they get treated differently because everyone knows that they are the daughter. Here in Wellington, for example, there is quite a popular Bharatanatyam teacher, and she has a dance academy, but she also taught her daughter Bharatanatyam. And people have always wondered there quite often. I think her daughter had the lead roles in a lot of productions and things like that. And people have always wondered, oh, does she give her daughter preferential treatment over everyone else in the class who is just as good, maybe even better than the daughter? So it's that fine line between, your home life is your home life. And then when you're in dance class, all the students are equal. Um, and then also to your point, Manisha ji, that you were raising earlier about um, doing dance class 4 or 5 hours every day. I remember I learned Bharatanatyam when I was a teenager. I did it for 10 years and I did my Arangetram at the end of it as well. Um, and when I learned Bharatanatyam, we had 2 to 3 classes a week for 1.5 hours each class. And we thought that was a lot. and, and I think maybe because in New Zealand things are different, where maybe it's not possible to go to dance class 5 days a week, but we used to have 2 weekday classes after school and one weekend class, and we all used to complain that 3 days a week we have to come here, and if you miss one class, the guru tells you off, or you have to catch up. So just hearing that you were doing so many more hours at an even younger age. I started learning Bharatanatyam when I was 13, so I was a little bit older. It just kind of puts it into perspective that there are kids that are doing much more and they don't complain. For them, it's just normal to go to dance class before school and then again after school every day. So you're bringing a stunning Kathak duet performance to New Zealand next month in May. please tell us a little bit about how you made it happen, especially as Maneesha ji lives in Pune, which is in India, and Shambhavi ji in San Francisco. So, how have you rehearsed for this performance? Is it over Zoom, or are they performances that you've already done together in the past? How have you choreographed everything?
That's a great question. Um, so first up, the person who is responsible for making this tour happen is my friend Reva Dikshit, who lives in Wellington. Uh, you know her.
Yes.
So she had this very strong desire to bring good quality Kathak to New Zealand, because especially she told me that Kathak activity is in general on the rise in that country, and
Mm,
she felt that if more artists visited and performed, that definitely will give a lot of inspiration to the community. So she's the person who is instrumental in making the tour happen. We are going to perform. We are going to give 3 performances in New Zealand, and I'll share the details with you in a little bit. Um, so about the rehearsal, um, as you just said, I am in San Francisco, and Manisha ji is in Pune, in India. And most of our choreographic work has been happening online. Uh, some part of the performance we have performed in the past. So, somewhat, I would say the choreography is in place. But this type of a choreography, especially for our performances, our duet performances, it's very dynamic. So it's not like we have a certain piece already choreographed and we are just going to continue to present that choreography throughout. We keep changing it as per um, the context, as per the location, audience, and that also gives us a lot of freshness. We don't, it's like we are presenting it new every time. There are some pieces that we have curated and choreographed especially for New Zealand tour, and we are bringing some heirloom Banaras Gharana compositions to New Zealand. I'm sure the audience is going to be very excited to watch it, because I don't think many other Kathak dancers perform the techniques that we are going to include in the performances. Uh, Presently, Manisha ji and I, we are practicing over Zoom, just as we are having a dialogue over Zoom just now. And I know it's a little bit challenging, but now we have been staying apart for over a decade now. So we have kind of gotten used to it. Like even if we talk for a few minutes over phone, we have the strategy in place. We know what to do, and we
Yes.
continue to practice on our own, and we make it happen. That's how it's going on. But we are going to meet a few days before our first performance in New Zealand, and that is when we'll get to practice face to face, and we are very excited for that. I Would you like to add anything? Did I miss anything?
Oh no, I'm as excited as you are to perform in New Zealand. And as Shambhavi said, we are to practice together. Firstly on Zoom for a couple of days before we start our journey. But it is always very challenging also to dance with Shambhavi, because, as she said, many a times we decide there and then on the stage what to do or where to go, and then the other person has to, either follow her or compliment her movement, and it is very, very, very challenging. I just love that. Many times I do something which is not decided earlier, and then Shambhavi has to rush according to movement and my planning. But it is very we do compliment each other in every moment and every step of our presentation.
That's good. It just goes to show the bond that you both have, that you can adapt to what the other person is doing so quickly. And maybe because it's only two of you rather than a big group, if the two of
Mhm.
you are doing slightly different actions to the audience, it probably looks like it was choreographed that way. Whereas when it's a big group of, maybe 6 or 10 people, if there's one person doing something different and the other nine are doing the same action, it's obvious that the one person is wrong. Um, but that's really cool that you have made it work living in two very different time zones and countries, because a lot of dance groups would say that if they are not practicing in person in the same room together, it's impossible. That's what a lot of people
It
would say.
is, yeah, yeah. It is very difficult for a group to practice in different zones and different
Mm,
areas. But for both of us, I don't think it is that difficult because we know each other very well. We know that our actions, movements, or choreography has to be seen as if it is decided, pre-decided. And of course, the audience should not understand what was the change or what was
mm,
pre-decided. So that is the skill, I think. But it can happen only in duet. It
yes.
cannot happen
I
even
think
in a trio, right?
no,
Mm-mm.
I honestly I don't even think it can happen in a duet, but it's happening. I mean, we are able to make it work just because we have worked together for such a long
For,
time.
yes,
And
yes, true.
also, I happen to be her disciple, so we dance the same dance style. And innately, naturally, our movements synchronize because it's the same style, you know. And that is how I think, even if we practice, let's say for New Zealand performance, if we are practicing just for a week, let's say, but we have spent 30 years prior to that performing duets,
Yes,
and that
Mm,
also will account
yes,
towards that,
true.
I think.
of
Yes,
course.
yes.
Yeah.
I took this point as a granted, so
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
true, true, very true.
So has performing Kathak together brought you closer together in terms of the conversations you have with each other and the time that you spend together?
Um, I think most of the conversations that we have are dance related. So, in that sense, we have fewer mother-daughter moments and more of Guru-Shishya moments, is what I would say. Especially since we started living in different countries, um, the time that we can spend talking to each other has reduced remarkably.
Mm.
And then when we are on a phone call with each other, we are mostly discussing dance. So that is how it goes between us.
Yeah, yeah. But that all leads to the relationship that you have, that trust in each other, and it's still mother-daughter time, even though you're talking about your performances and work. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, it's really wonderful that we can get time to travel together because of performances, you
mm,
know, because in day-to-day life, for a mother and a daughter to cut out a mother-daughter trip somewhere, it takes so much effort. But here we are traveling with each other all the time because we are in the same profession. So I think it's
Yes,
amazing.
yeah,
yeah, that's
it's a
really
God
nice.
gift.
It is, yes. I wanted to know, Shambhavi, what is your experience with teaching Kathak in America been like? Have you
Mm.
noticed, are there a lot of students in your academy? Have you noticed more and more students enrolling since you've been teaching for a few years? And how is teaching Kathak in America different to teaching it in India?
Uh, it's definitely different, and all the differences that I came across right when I moved here in America, they amaze me now. If I look back, I had to change my teaching style in quite a few ways for me to get the same results as I did in India. It was very easy for one to say that, uh, you know, um, quality or standard from Indian students, you cannot match that when you're teaching art outside of India. It was easy to say that, but I chose to have my students from the US match standards with Indian students. And that took a lot of hard work, a um, lot of detailing, and not giving oneself any concession, you know, especially in terms of teaching dance, because a big part of any classical dance deals with Indian mythology, right? And in India, because mythology is in the air around us, you know, it surrounds us all the time. So a lot of times you don't really need to give a lot of, do a lot of research or give references or tell stories in a great depth. But here outside of India, there has to be a lot of hand holding, and there has to be a lot of orientation, I think, not just into mythology, but also into the art in general, especially because I live in Silicon Valley here in San Francisco Bay Area. The entire atmosphere around me is completely filled with technology. Everybody is a coder. So, people tend to think in a certain way. So for you to get them to think like an artist, to to um, to behave like an artist, or to get immersed in art, everything needs additional effort.
Mm.
But just this year, sorry, last year, I completed 10 years of my school here in the Bay Area, and my mother was present as our guest of honor when we celebrated. And she saw that everybody was so immersed into Kathak, and there wasn't even a, a stone unturned. It was just spick and span. So I think we deserve a pat on the back for being very meticulous and very dedicated and very particular about the kind of art
Exactly.
that we are producing.
Mm. I think my Bharatanatyam guru would say very similar things to you. He still teaches now, but he's semi-retired, so he doesn't perform as much. The advanced students do a lot of the teaching of the junior students. But when I learnt with him in my teenage years, he was
Mm,
always the main dancer in in our yearly productions and the main teacher. But he used to quite often say very similar things to you, because we are Indians growing up in New Zealand. We don't grow up knowing all the mythological stories and all of that. And every single Bharatanatyam dance is about one god or another. And so he would have to tell us the whole backstory, as well as the fact that we don't understand Sanskrit, we don't understand the language Bharatanatyam is in. So he would have to teach us the words as well. So much extra background work went into it, which he would always tell us as well. He said, in India, this everyone just knows this because you're learning it at school, or your parents tell you, and here in New Zealand as well, a lot of Indians don't speak their mother tongue either, because a lot of us are second and third generation New Zealand born Indians. So that's another challenge, where some Indian people here only speak English. So he would face all of that, but he always had such a high standard that he always wanted us to be as good as the performers in India. And he would quite often get, because he'd learnt at Galakshetra, which is quite a renowned Bharatanatyam school, he would quite often get performers from there or other parts of India to come to New Zealand, so that we would have an opportunity to perform with them in a show. And so we would also see their style of teaching and their way of dancing. But yeah, he used to say a lot of the same things about how, the challenges. But then when you overcome all those challenges and you see that those dancers are performing at the same level as India, he said it feels so rewarding that he's managed that, because we're living in a predominantly Western white culture, that, instilling this discipline in Indian culture on people is just a little bit harder as well, because it's not part of our daily life.
very true.
Yeah, that's very interesting to see that. Yeah, what you're saying is almost the same as what he used to say all the time. So you're also going to teach workshops in all of the cities, in the 3 cities in New Zealand, as well as having your performances. So could you tell us a little bit about what the participants of these workshops can expect and what type of things you will cover in the workshops, and if you're collaborating with local Kathak dance schools with these workshops?
Yes. So I think in the flow of the same question, let me also talk about the performances that are going to happen in the 3 cities. So
Mm-hmm.
we are going to be performing in Auckland on the 16th of May. And the next day, on the 17th, we will teach a workshop. In Auckland, we will teach 2 workshops on the same day, on the 17th. The first workshop is going to be for beginner level students, and the other is going to be for advanced level students. Uh, uh, there are interested I mean, prospective participants for the workshops who have been learning for 1 or 2 years, but they still want to, learn from senior teachers. So that's why we decided to teach a beginner level workshop. And also there was a lot of interest from dancers of other styles, for example, Bharatanatyam or Kuchipudi dance students who wanted to kind of get a quick immersion in Kathak. So we are also going to involve them in the beginner level workshop. And then the other workshop is going to be for advanced level students who have been learning for a good number of years. In Auckland, there's going to be a very exciting curtain raiser being performed by the local Kathak dance schools. Their names are Ayat and Kathakar, the members of these 2 local dance groups. So they are going to open the show for us, and then we will continue to present our duet performance. Then after Auckland, we are going to be in Wellington on May 24th. And we are also going to teach a workshop in Wellington 2 days before the performance, so on May 22nd. And right the next day to the Wellington performance, we are going to be performing in Christchurch. So they are going to be absolutely back to back, travel, perform, travel, that kind of a thing. And in Christchurch, the performance is going to be on the 25th, followed by a workshop the next day on the 26th. And in both these places, local Kathak dancers are going to join us in performing a curtain raiser before the main performance. And also, I'm so proud to say that, there is a great support from the community as well. So in Wellington, the Marathi Association is joining hands, and even in Auckland and other places, there are local communities who are being of a great support. So all in all, I think it's all filled with so much enthusiasm that it always already makes us excited to visit New Zealand and perform there.
Mm. Yeah, that's really good. And yeah, like in Wellington, I'm part of S Dance, and I'm in their beginners level Kathak class. And I know they're really excited to collaborate with you as well, because I think living or being in New Zealand, so far from the rest of the world, we don't get many opportunities to have international performers coming to New Zealand. So when they do, we jump at the chance, which you might have noticed that all of the groups you're collaborating with, as soon as you ask them, they probably all said yes straight away. Yeah, and that's because we don't, in some other countries, you have artists coming every few weeks and there's so many opportunities, but in New Zealand, that's not the case. And like a lot of our younger generation here, because we live in a Western country, they don't want to be as involved in Indian things anymore because their friends aren't doing Indian things, and maybe their parents are also born in New Zealand, so they don't have much of the Indian culture at home. So seeing performances where you've got, artists from India and America coming, it gets more young kids and more of the younger generation interested, into these cultural things, which is, if you ask any of the dance teachers of the groups you're collaborating with, they'll probably all tell you that this is one big issue, that there's less and less younger people joining because they're just not interested, maybe not being motivated by their parents, because even their parents don't know many of the cultural things, and it's becoming more and more of a problem. So being able to have, people from around the world coming to New Zealand and perform, people think, oh wow, this is something that, is popular in India, so let's go and watch it, type of thing.
That's so true.
Shambhavi, you teach a distance learning program in Kathak through your Kathak school, and I read on your website that you have over 100 students from 12 different countries in 60 cities that have connected to Kathak through this program. Please tell me a bit more about this, and maybe some of the differences you face in teaching students Kathak online versus in person in a studio.
Mm. My online students learn from me through pre-recorded, pre-curated video tutorials. They get a certain number of video tutorials every month, and then once in every few weeks, I do a Zoom call with them, and on which I check what they've learned and I adjust their movements and just basically help them perfect what they've learned. This program has been is a basically it's a brainchild of the COVID days. During COVID, we all started thinking differently, and that's when I noticed that just having online classes is not enough, because if your time zones don't work out together, you can't learn anyway. So just to overcome that hurdle, I started with the distance learning program, where the student should have the flexibility to learn whenever they find time, rather than going to the class at a certain time. It has been the program is in its fifth year now, and it's going great. In fact, I have a student from right from the inception of the program. His name is Samir, and he lives in Tasmania, and he's going to be attending all performances and all workshops in New Zealand.
Oh
And I
wow.
think, and isn't it amazing? And that is how I think if you're learning online, you jump to grab every opportunity to be with your teachers, to spend time with them, and to watch them live. So I'm really
Mm.
glad that through distance learning program, my student group has literally spread across the world, and wherever I go, there'll be a student or two who are learning through this program from me. It's been a very fulfilling 5 years.
Mm. That's really nice that he's coming all the way to New Zealand. Have you met him in person before, or will you be meeting him for the first time when you come here?
No, actually, he's extremely dedicated and very enthusiastic. So every other year, when I have my student recital over here in San Francisco, he joins. He makes it a
Wow.
he yeah, he flies especially for the performance, stays with me for some time, learns the choreography, and performs. He has already done that twice, last year and in 2022, and I'm sure he'll continue to do that in future as well.
Oh wow, that's really awesome. Very dedicated. So both of you have performed across the world in your vast careers as Kathak dancers. Can you share with me some interesting moments or some noteworthy performances that you've had that stand out in your mind?
Do you
There are
want to go
plenty.
first, Ari? Yeah.
Yeah, I will just tell about a couple of performances. We were performing from 91. I have been performing in Japan in collaboration with a music composer and taiko player, Mr. Takimoto. And we performed almost almost every year till 19, 2018. And every time we had different experiences. But to share with you a few, um, we performed a dance drama which was based on Lord Buddha's life, and it was in a certain hall where 6,000 monks had attended that program, and it was a pin drop silence after when we finished the program. There was no clapping, nothing, and everybody was crying. And we just heard the sound and this and that, and we couldn't understand what is happening. And then after really a wait of 5 minutes, we got the applause, with the claps and all. And so everybody in the audience was into tears. And this was the experience because it was so unexpected. And in Japan's performances, we could experience the advanced technique. The technique we enjoy here in India now, we experienced it in way back in late or early 20s, right? So it was very interesting, to have different layers on the stage or different floors on the stage to dance just on a square, which say 6 by 4 feet of width, various instruments, various experiences, and with various light effects, which was very unique then. And now we do the same thing here in India. But in those days, it was very, very unique. And there are many more, but it's very difficult to tell it in short. So
Yeah.
Shambhavi, you may want to continue.
There was this one time when me and I used to perform again. That was also a duet, but not between us, with another Bharatanatyam dancer that I used to perform in the past. And we were traveling on this tour, performance tour. And I think the elements in the nature, they were blessing us with more attention, I think, because there was this one performance where it was an outdoor performance, and it was in Texas, so it is especially hot in the summers. Um, and when we entered the stage, of course, as Indian dancers, we were bare feet. And when we entered the stage was scorching hot. We could not even put our foot on the stage. We had to literally jump to
Mm.
to cover distance. We were literally hopping like chickens. And we lasted for like a minute and a half, I think, and it was just unbearable. So we took an exit and then made the announcement that it's impossible for us because it's so hot. Inside, at the backstage, the volunteers over there, they were watching us from the wings, and they knew that something was wrong, and they kind of input, they put two and two together. So when we took exit, they were ready with buckets of cold water in their hand. And then, as soon as we exited, they threw that water, cold water, on our feet. And I literally saw fumes, steam coming out from my feet. It was such a horrible sight. And as a result,
Okay.
next day, both my feet were covered in blisters.
Ooh.
Had the next performance in 3 days, so had to put a ton of medicines on the foot for it to subside in time and be able to dance in another 3 days. Next performance again happens to be a outdoor performance in Ohio State. And there suddenly it starts pouring in the middle of the performance. Looks like everybody in the audience was kind of expecting, they might have checked the weather, I don't know. Most of them were carrying umbrellas with them. So in the middle of the performance, suddenly rains start, like the pitter patter starts, and then it starts raining finally. Everybody just opens their umbrella. They are sitting in the rain watching us perform. Thankfully, we had a roof over the performance area. And then it got so windy that the rain started coming all the way inside the stage, and it literally tossed off the microphones that were kept on the stage. It was a havoc. We continued through it. We performed the piece. And then when we took an exit, I was like, these are like, additional blessings uh, from Mother Nature.
Mother
It was so
Nature.
amazing. Two back-to-back performances with such contrast experiences.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like when I used to perform Bharatanatyam, and I've also performed Bollywood quite often. Sometimes we would have outdoor performances as well, and the weather is so unpredictable. I remember once I lived in Melbourne for a few years, and we were performing for Diwali. Which they do at Federation Square, which is outdoors. So the stage is covered, but everything is outdoors. And the weather was so bad that day that the whole Diwali function got cancelled. So you're thinking all these people have practiced and practiced for some people months and months. You can't control the weather. And then, sometimes Melbourne being Melbourne, and in October, November, Melbourne does get quite hot sometimes. Sometimes it will be 35 degrees, and you're, like you said, with most Indian dancing, you are performing barefoot. You don't wear shoes when you're performing Bollywood and Bharatanatyam and Kathak. And so, you can't control what the weather's going to be like. Or I remember that stage was also, the stage itself wasn't a proper flat stage. And when you're barefoot, you noticed, because obviously there's nothing protecting your foot against the stage. It wasn't a very comfortable stage to dance on, but that's, you just kind of carry on, and you don't show it on your face. You just try to carry on with it. And at the end of the performance, that's when you go backstage and you complain about everything and your feet are in pain. um, yeah. I think most of my other performances I have done indoors, though, in auditoriums, because here in New Zealand, in Wellington especially, when you come, you might notice the weather here is very unpredictable. And even in
Hmm.
summer, quite often it rains or it's too windy. So quite often, most things here are just kept indoors because you just don't know what the
Hmm.
weather's going to do, even if it's the middle of summer.
I see.
um, so what Oh, you've already covered some of this, but one thing I was wondering is, obviously, you're both from two different generations, being mother and daughter. So, Manisha ji, how would you compare people learning Kathak now compared to when you learnt as a child and teenager? What differences have you noticed in how people learn, or maybe the discipline around it? What major things like that have you noticed in your time?
Yes. There is certainly a difference now and then, no doubt about it. Um, when I was learning, I had no other extra activity than to dance. So my school, my education, and my dance were just the two
So,
activities I had to
mm,
do. Nowadays, you see a child is surrounded with activities. So he works round the clock. So 5 to 6 piano class, 6 to 7 mathematics class, and 7 to 8 dance class, and 8 o'clock he has to go back home. So it is, he is full of many activities. So as we say, jack of all trades and master of none. It happens like that. This is my straightaway opinion, but I have to compromise. Seeing and saying that they have to do all these things because today's world requires this. I think they have to at least tap many activities and then decide which is beneficial to them firstly, because nowadays, students, they cannot decide that dance is my passion and I want to do just dance, because even parents and that particular student is not confident enough to know whether it is enough for her survival.
Mm.
So, for her bread and butter, maybe she has to do some other activity, or she has to choose some other line and then move on to dance. So, nowadays, when I learned, as you said, I had a holiday just on Sundays. And every day, 5 to 6 hours, I used to dance. And neither my parents nor myself even felt that why am I just doing dance and nothing else. But nowadays, the scenario is not like that. Everybody would is wanting to do or wanting to tap many activities.
Mm.
So they have to, I think, you know, I teach 3 days a week. I think my class is the only class here in Pune who conduct lessons every alternate day. So I'm happy with that. And I think my students are also very happy coming every alternate day. Many of my students, they who want to take dance as a career, are not interested in having some educational classes, maths class and a language class and this and that, but they have to do it as their parents want them to do it or to learn it. But I think after certain age, the person who is 100% dedicated or 100% determined that she has to learn dance, then she can probably tell her students, and then she tells me, and then she's with me at least morning 3 hours and afternoon 2 hours, and in between she continues her education. So I'm happy with that. It is not that they should not do other activities, but I think they have to choose the correct stream at the correct age. That is what I seriously feel.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Now you have, yeah, a lot of parents put their kids in all different things, sports, musical instruments, different things. And then you get, I think it's usually maybe college age when they're 13, 14. That's when the parents start saying to them, okay, now you have to reduce your activities. You have to decide what
Yes.
sport you like the most,
Yes.
carry on with that one, quit the rest, and you have to start
Yes.
making school a priority as well, because you have exams and things like that. But until that point, I know some people where their kids are doing a different activity every day after school. It might be like in New Zealand, things like cheerleading and things are quite popular for girls. So they'll do cheerleading, they play netball, they play another sport, they learn an instrument, and their parents don't mind because that's their way of their child figuring out what they enjoy the most. And if you don't try it, you don't know what you're going to
You don't know.
enjoy and what you're not going to
Yeah.
enjoy. Yeah, but then like when I compare myself to like my parents, my mum would say the same thing as you, that you only really did one or two activities from a young age and then you just carried on doing them. You didn't always have as much choice. And sometimes that was just due to the fact that maybe your parents didn't have as much disposable income to spend on sending you to 10 different activities. And I think also back then, a lot of families had more children. So you can't have each child going to 5 different activities. How do you split yourself between everything? Whereas now, a lot of people only have 1, 2, or 3 children. So you have a bit more time to focus on each child as well. And some people are financially a bit better off now. And also the world now is just a lot more competitive as well, that you have to try everything as well, because that's just how the world is going. I remember my Bharatanatyam teacher, and if he heard this interview, he would probably laugh at this. But when I was growing up, I used to do Bollywood dancing and Bharatanatyam. Um, Bharatanatyam I learnt from him, so a proper dance academy. And Bollywood dancing, I used to do with a group of friends. We taught ourselves and we would perform at Diwali and different things like that, but it was not a formal class. It was just friends that got together and learnt performances. And he he kind of knew, because Wellington is quite small, he knew who in our class did Bollywood as well as Bharatanatyam, because quite often we would be performing at the same Diwali shows. So some shows I would be doing a Bharatanatyam dance, and then I would have 1 or 2 hours to change my costume into my Bollywood costume. And he would be so extra strict on the people that are learning both, because the two styles of dance are so different. And I can imagine a lot of Kathak teachers having the same frustration. He would tell us in our Bollywood, in our Bharatanatyam class, if we, if our arm is a bit lower than it should be, or if we're not doing one posture properly, he would just say, "This is not Bollywood class. You can't be flexible in this class." It was always like a joke, because he would just always use that, because he would be like, this is Bharatanatyam, this is very disciplined, it's the opposite of Bollywood. So he always had this, like, I think, this inner hate, but at the same time he never told us to stop, because he knew, if I tell you to stop doing Bollywood, well, you might end up quitting my class. But he'd just always have that. It's like, it was always a running joke. And even now, I'm still good friends with him. Like, I haven't done I did my Arangetram almost 15 years ago, but we're still in contact. And we still have this running joke where he says, "Oh, all the girls these days, they all have to do Bollywood as well as classical. Oh, I just have to, when they come to my class, I have to make sure they know this is not your Bollywood class." So I just find that really funny, because there's just so many different types, where you got really disciplined, strict, formal dancing, and then very flowy, and it's all because India's got so many different types of dancing that people don't always realize how different they all are. So what are you most excited about for your New Zealand trip? Have either of you been to New Zealand before?
No,
No,
for
I'm
both of us, it's our first time.
first
Nice.
time. Yes. And so to know the audience, to meet different people, and to perform in front of completely unknown audience is going to be fun. And I'm going really excited, and I'm looking forward to it now. Can't wait, can't stop myself now.
Yeah. Also looking forward to interacting with the local Kathak communities, because
Yes.
it's always good to know new dancers, who you are not in touch with earlier, and just check out what kind of activity they do, what is their approach towards Kathak, and how they're teaching and all that. So just to get connected with a newer Kathak community is very exciting. The way they are supporting the performances, it's amazing. Also, we have some family in Auckland. My mother has a much older cousin sister, and her son and daughter-in-law in Auckland. So we are so looking forward to spending time with them after our performance. And we have heard so much about the natural beauty that New Zealand has. It's one of the most beautiful countries on the earth. So we just can't wait to carve out some time aside from performances and workshops and do at least a little bit of a sightseeing, just to get at least a glimpse of the beauty of the nature. So really excited for the tour. Although it's going to be a very short tour, we are going to be in and out within 2 weeks. But definitely looking forward to more trips in the future as well.
Nice. I'm sure you'll love New Zealand. May is kind of the beginning of winter, but you should still get
Mm.
nice weather and a lot of really nice sightseeing while you're here. I think you'll really like it. So, just before we finish our interview, is there anything you want to cover or you want our listeners to hear that we haven't covered so far?
Um, well, just one thing off the top of my head, Harita. A lot of times, people um, who are not exposed to classical dances ever before in their life, or who don't have a special inclination, they're always a bit reluctant or a bit skeptical to go and watch Indian classical performances. So I would just like to say to them from this platform that, um, especially the kind of performances that we give, they're very relatable. They're not stuck in the jargon of Sanskrit shlokas or some unknown language. It's all out there. It's beautiful to watch. It's very relatable and understandable. The technique of Kathak is very impressive, I should say. It has a lot of spins, a lot of footwork, space coverage. Through our performance, we are also going to bring in some contemporary themes and contemporary topics from our day-to-day life. We are going to try and arrest that in our performances. We are, as I told you, I'm not going to disclose much, but we are going to have a couple of um, what should I say? Mm, uh, I'm at a loss of words. Some unexpected performances in the Kathak repertoire. So that's also something to watch out for. All in all, I think Kathak is for everybody to watch and appreciate. It's not a prerogative of a certain part of the community who have already been exposed to classical dance. It's for each and everyone to come and see and enjoy and take some beautiful memories back home.
Yes, yes, very rightly said, Shambhavi.
Nice. Yeah. My Kathak teacher here in Wellington, Harita from S Dance, she's said similar things, and she quite often finds she finds a lot of fusion tracks where they are doing Kathak to a Bollywood song, because she has found similar, similar things to what you've just said, that people think that, oh, you have to understand that language or be part of that community. And all Indians love Bollywood. So she will find tracks where she can teach Kathak choreography to Bollywood songs, because she's found that middle ground to get people interested in it. Or she's even done a few choreographies to English songs sung by New Zealand bands. I don't know where she finds the track from, but the way she choreographs the Kathak performance to that song, it's so seamless. And that's a way to, again, then bring your non-Indian crowd into the performance, because they recognize the song. So it's, yeah, really cool how Kathak can be choreographed to so many different types of music as well. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to watching your performance. I've actually never watched a Kathak performance before. I've watched on YouTube and things like that, but I've never watched a live show. I've watched only, if someone's doing a 5-minute dance at a Diwali show or something like that, but not an entire show of just Kathak.
Mm,
So I'm
mm,
coming to it with my mum, so I'm really looking forward to it as
awesome.
well.
Thank you.
And some of the other people from S Dance were coming as a group. So how can people find you both on socials, and what are your websites if people wanted to find out more about your dance academies?
Yes, so I'm sure you'll add the website links and social links in your description on YouTube. But in general, I think just Googling us by our names is the easiest way to find out information. Just Google Maneesha Sathe and Shambhavi Dandekar, and you should find our socials as well as the websites that we have. Our websites are by the name of our institutes. So it's manishanrityalay.com and siskdance.com. But the socials are by our own names. So it should be easy to find, I think.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And I'm really looking forward to meeting you both in a few weeks when you're here and coming to your workshop and watching your performances. But it's been such a pleasure talking to you both and finding out more about you and your journeys. So I wish you all the best.
Oh,
Thank you
yes.
so
Thank you,
much.
Harita.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And let me wish you a happy International Dance Day, which is on the 29th. So for you and all the dance biradari, I wish to say happy International Dance Day and enjoy dancing.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.